Every UFC champ's biggest weakness. Lightweight, start off back with another video. Today we're gonna be going over every UFC champ's biggest weakness. To start off, we got Josh Van. For Van, we got his chin. A lot of you guys, Van's a well-rounded fighter. He's the champ, obviously. His cardio is amazing. His takedown defense is amazing. His gas tank is unbelievable. But his biggest problem right now is his chin. So last couple fights, he's been getting dropped, man. Not really his last couple fights, but he got knocked out by Charles Johnson. He got hurt by Borjas. It's pretty he compared to who he's beaten versus who he's lost to. It's kind of bad. It's a bad look, honestly. Because honestly, man, I think Manel Cap's gonna beat him, man. Because Josh Van, if you notice in all of his fights, he does get hit a lot, man. And it's kind of worrying. He's very young, and I think that chin's gonna crack against Manel Cap. Charles Johnson ended up cracking that chin. He KO'd Josh Van. Charles, I beat that guy one time, Johnson, but it is the game. And yeah, Josh Van's biggest weakness is his chin. But outside of that, he's honestly one of the most well-rounded fighters in the game. His striking is literally some of the best in the UFC. His boxing, especially. His kicks aren't that good. His boxing's, I would say, is the best. But his kicks, he doesn't really kick. His takedown defense is amazing. He beat Tyra. I think he was gonna beat Pantoja, but hey, man, it is what it is. Sadly, I think we're gonna see Manel Cap take his belt away, and I think he'll get knocked out in his next fight against Cap. Next, we got bantamweight, Jan. Bantamweight, we got Jan. I got slow starters, his biggest weakness. You guys might be asking, Jacob, he's the UFC champ. He just beat Merab. He won arguably all 5 rounds, but outside of this fight, even in his last 3 fights against Marcus McGee, Davison Figueiredo, and Song Yudong, he all lost the first rounds. I'm one of the biggest Peter Yan fans on the planet right now, man. But every first round, I'm always worried about, damn, man, what is he doing, bro? It's a 3-round fight. You gotta fucking throw some strikes, But yeah, dude, against Merab, at the first fight, he was really just calculating he was making his reads. And yeah, man, he doesn't really throw unless he gets those reads, but he's been doing better, man. So I don't know if this really applies to him anymore, because against Merab in his last fight, he basically won all 5 rounds, in my opinion, and did the better strikes. He got taken down a bit, but Peter Yan is actually one of the most well-rounded fighters, probably top 3. Actually, might be, outside of Islam, he might be second, honestly. His striking, his kickboxing, he's not just a boxer, his kicks are amazing. His body kicks, he was beating up Merab with his body kicks, his southpaw stance, and his takedown defense outside of the Merab's first fight, he defended almost all of the takedowns. Aljamain Sterling's fights, the second fight in the rematch, he got taken down twice, and then that's it. He got controlled, but yeah, man. His first fight against Aljamain, he barely got taken down. When he got taken down, he was right up. Man, the next point I want to go over with Jan, I think his fight IQ is really overrated, and I think it's really overlooked right now. So why I'm saying this is, in his last couple fights, especially against Merab, in his first fight with Merab, that was the lowest fight IQ fight by Jan I've ever seen. And I know he might have been injured, but so was Merab. He was trying to make his reads in the 4th and 5th round when he was down 4 rounds, getting taken down, trying to throw some leg kicks. Against Aljamain Sterling, literally kneeing him in the freaking head for no reason at all. It was a while ago, but still, man. Sean O'Malley not throwing enough strikes. He literally can't get his reads. Not going for takedowns, trying to stand and bang with O'Malley. I think those were really low IQ decisions. I've lost him a couple fights. Lost him against Aljamain, just trying to stay there. And the same thing with Aljamain in the second fight with Aljamain. The last 3 rounds, he was down. and he literally just did not do anything. He literally just kept throwing leg kicks, was not urgent at all, you know. And my last one, leg kicks. That's really underrated one, but in his last couple fights with O'Malley, especially Merab the first fight, in Merab's first fight, Merab was absolutely beating him up with the leg kicks, man. It was like he was literally limping at one point just from the leg kicks. You know, that could be something a future opponents could maybe exploit in him. Like maybe O'Malley in a rematch. I might pick O'Malley in a rematch to beat on, actually. You know, I think O'Malley won that fight. I don't think it was a robbery. I think he won 2-1. But anyways, let's move on. We got Jan versus Aldo. Featherweight, Volk. You know what we're going to say already. Chin. The worst chin in the UFC right now. I wouldn't see it in the UFC, but as a champ, I think maybe Van and him have pretty bad chins, but Volk's been knocked out cold a couple times now, man. And even in his last couple fights against Diego Lopez, both the Diego Lopez fights, you know, against that year he got dropped. He's really getting dropped in every fight, you know. You know, when like against these guys, Ilia Topuria, you know, Islam, you know, he got head kicked pretty bad, but anything that hits him, even against Diego. I know these guys are all really strong power punchers, you know. They all have a bunch of power, but still, he keeps getting caught up with his chin in the air, trying to do his guard, trying to weave and bob, you know. But his chin, man, it's probably gone by now, man. Diego Lopez knocked him down with a gust of wind. You know, every time all his fans, Lucas Tracy is taking big ass deep breaths, you know, scared. You know, because he knows if one shot lands, it might be over. But yeah. Now look at these fights, man. Got KO'd, you know, it was very sad. But moving on, we got lightweight. Justin Gaethje. Lengthy power punchers. Okay, what do I mean by this, man? So, in a brawl, Justin Gaethje's going to win that fight at 10 out of 10 times. So what I'm saying by this is, those guys that just try to fight in the pocket, like a Fiziev, Ilia Topuria, he's always going to win that fight. He's too crafty with his uppercuts. He's too crafty, you know, he's so much of a vet, you know. His chin is made of glass. Made of steel, not glass, that's Volk. But yeah. So what I mean by lengthy power punchers is guys that are technical and move on the outside. For example, like Max Holloway, and people who throw straights. You know, Charles Oliveira does fight on the inside, but when he fought on the inside, he was getting pieced up. You know, he got dropped 3 times in that fight. But once he started to stay on the outside and throw strikes, throw some straights, he can't dodge it. All he does is do this and this, but he likes to lean back for his uppercuts, and that's when he gets caught with those straights, especially by Max Holloway. He was exploiting that. Every time he tried to do this fake uppercut right hand, Max Holloway just hit him right straight, flushed on the chin. You know, he was able to get a KO. But yeah, I think the lengthy power punchers is like his biggest weakness, you know. And that's what I'm saying, man. MMA math does not work at all. You know, he got destroyed by Charles Oliveira, got destroyed by Max, and look, he still beat Ilia Topuria. Because it's matchups, man. You know, Ilia Topuria tried to fight him in the pocket, but Gaethje was too savvy, man. He was too savvy, and there was too much of a crafty vet. You know, with his uppercuts, the big meaty hooks, you know. Shout out Lucas Tracy, but yeah. Moving on, we got Walter White. Islam Makhachev. Absolutely nothing. What I mean by this, you know, he's probably, in my opinion, he's the most well-rounded fighter in the game with no weaknesses. But, you know, he obviously does have a weakness, and that is technical maestros. What I mean by this, you know, I think guys like Volk and Ilya, you know, even though Volk got knocked out by him on full training camp, you know, that was a fat Volk out of a training camp. He was fat, eating tacos, coming out of surgery, you know, cooking with Volk. You know, he was chilling. His aura was at an all-time high. But once he actually had a training camp, and he had a game plan, he wasn't just brawling like Dustin Poirier, brawling like Charles Oliveira. And they actually had a plan. They stuck to the outside. They stood straight. They weren't just brawling. That's why I truly believed Ilya would have beaten Islam. I truly believed it. Even though what I'm saying is kind of contradicting myself with the matchups, but because Gaethje beat Ilya, and Ilya was kind of brawling, but Ilya, if he fought Islam, he would not have been scared of it. I mean, he would have been not as cocky. Like when Ilya was on the Joe Rogan podcast, he was saying he doesn't even care about Gaethje. He wasn't even having a camp. He wasn't taking him seriously. He thought he was just gonna knock him out in one round, you know. But yeah, the strikes, you know, it's the skills, man. The featherweight skills. It's always been hard on Islam with Volk and Ilya. I think Ilya. We need to see that matchup after Ilya beats Gaethje. I think he'll beat him in the rematch. But yeah, moving on. We got middleweight Strickland combinations. What do I mean by combinations? Guys who throw a lot of combos like Dricus. That's why he was able to win. But combos, because Sean Strickland backs up like this. He does this, and what if they're just going 1-2s? You know, they're just doing 1-2s. It's easy to block that. But once people like Dricus, people like Cannonier, even though he did beat, like when they start throwing combos, that's when he gets Strickland on the end of his punches. You know, that's when they rack up points. You know, that's why Imavov didn't beat Strickland. His main game is like the 1-2s. He doesn't really extend combos, but Dricus, he rushes in. That he's the perfect stylistic matchup against Sean. Pick him 10 out of 10 times. His style is just it's the MMA math, man. His style is just he goes in straight forward. You know, he has a hard chin, and he throws like 10 punches in one combo, which you know Strickland can't really defend that because he keeps his chin up in the air. And then Dricus would catch him in these shots, you know. He would mix it up too. Dricus would go to the body. He would mix it up, go get takedowns, you know. So I think Strickland would only lose to Dricus in the middleweight division right now. You know, even though Dricus got destroyed by Khamzat and Sean Strickland beat Khamzat, you know. But man, Dricus, man, I think if he gets the rematch, you know, he's fighting Kamaru Usman, Marty Snoozman, but I think Dricus will take care of business with Usman and get his belt back. Moving on. Light heavyweight, the undefeated prospect. You know, got a really fluky win against Yuri. You know, Yuri doing his very high IQ moves. But yeah, Olberg's biggest weakness is two-way fighters, aka the Big Onk, the Big Ankalaev. What I mean by this, man, you know, Olberg kind of has a padded record, you know. I feel like a guy that's really technical like Ankalaev, who mixes it in with his kicks, his boxing, his takedowns will easily beat Olberg, you know. He hasn't faced anyone like the Big Ankalaev, anyone with two-way. Everyone he's fought in the UFC was just a striker or just a pure out wrestler, you know. Jan, Yuri, who else did he fight? Alonzo Menifield just rushing in with his chin. That's an easy KO. You know, he couldn't even finish the few dudes in the UFC. I feel like he got his UFC belt kind of handpicked. You know, even though he did beat Yuri, I think he's gonna lose to Big Onk. You know, Big Onk. You know, honestly, Ankalaev was honestly beating Pereira on the feet in the first fight. You know, he did get knocked out, but on the feet, he was literally beating him. He actually knocked down Pereira, or it might have been just hurted him, but he hurt Pereira bad just with his striking. He barely even used his wrestling. He didn't even get really takedowns on Pereira, you know. He was just outboxing him. You know, one thing I can see is that left hook of Olberg. I think he might be able to catch Ankalaev. Same thing with the Pereira caught him, but I think will take the belt back unless he gets caught with the left hook. But yeah, he's the all-around better fighter, more versatile. I think he can get some takedowns, you know. Yeah. Moving on to the best division in the UFC right now. Or not best, but most controversial. Heavyweight. We got Aspinall. His biggest weakness is eye pokes right now, guys. You know, and injuries. Honestly, eye pokes and injuries. Not eye pokes and injuries, but how do I say this? Eye pokes and just fluke shit happening. For example, like the John Jones, he literally fought 2 times since 2024. It's been 2 years. His prime has absolutely been wasted because of these guys, cheaters like Cyril Gane, John Jones. He's literally holding up the belt, and Cyril Gane for literally cheating in every single fight he has. Back of the head shots. I can't stand Cyril Gane, bro. I cannot stand it, but Yeah, he eye poked him. You know, I think in the next fight, man, Cyril Gane should start off with like a 1 point deduction immediately. If he does an eye poke or nut shot, insta DQ. I'm so tired of Cyril Gane. But speaking of Cyril Gane, man, I don't think Tom Aspinall will beat Cyril Gane. You know, for you guys are gonna say, I already know you're saying right now, oh, he's gonna submit him in 1 round like he did against other people, bro. I don't think so, man. I think Tom Aspinall has gotten too complacent with the striking. You know, oh, I knocked out Sergey Pavlovich. Oh, I knocked out Curtis Blades. You know, I feel like he's kind of forgetting the striking. You know, I think he's been taking some time off. You know, he hasn't trained in a year almost because he hasn't fought. I don't think he's trained since the game fight. So he always been sitting on. He hasn't been refining his skills. The media's on him against Aspinall because he hasn't actually won the title. You know, he's been just sitting on the couch. You know, the media's been getting to him. People think Cyril's gonna win, which I think he can. You know, let's talk about some technical parts about this fight. You know, Tom Aspinall, man, he's not the most technical boxer. You know, Cyril Gane in the first fight, you know, was kind of catching him with the jab. He was blooding him up. He couldn't really find that strike. You know, Tom Aspinall couldn't not find the strike. But another point is, Cyril Gane does not get hit with heavy strikes often, man. Actually, maybe even never, bro. Pereira could not find his chin at all. Did not land barely any strikes. Volkov had never hurt him, never landed much on him. Even though that was Robbie, Volkov did win that fight, but he didn't land anything damaging. You know, Volkov the volume guy, but Aspinall's a one-punch wonder. You know, one-hit wonder. If he hits you, you might be dead. But I think Cyril's gonna dodge all his punches, and he's gonna beat Aspinall with the head movement. It might knock him out too. You know, Cyril looks like he's on PhDs right now, PEDs. Oh my gosh, I think he's on some PEDs right now. But yeah, I think Aspinall's gonna take this one. And I think he's gonna lose, and Gane's gonna take the belt back. Yeah, man, I think it'll be end of the Tom Aspinall era. You know, his confidence, he might retire after this. His eyes, his injuries, because if you guys forget, before the Jones fight, before the Pavlovich fight, you know, after he came back against Sergey Spivak, he had he tore his ACL. He was out for another year. He's had like 4 fights in 5 years, man. It's really sad to see, but yeah, I think Cyril Gane's gonna take this one. Bone Gaming, Cyril Gane, you know, Cheater Gane. Cyril is a cheater, you know. Anyways, that'll conclude the video. If you guys like this video, please subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like. That'll mean everything to me, guys. Thank you so much. Anyways, that's it. Thank you.